Hey guys, it's Mr. Kennedy back with another video. This one I'm going to break up into two parts. I'm going to talk about hormones and then I'll focus a little bit more on the endocrine system. Now, basically a hormone is a type of chemical that's secreted by a special cell in the body that travels with bodily fluids to a specific target cell in the body, and it causes a change of some sort. Now, why are hormones needed in the first place? Well, they're needed for messaging, chemical messaging back and forth, communication to coordinate the entire body, because realize that we want to maintain the body into a homeostasis, or we want to regulate it on a large scale. And we use hormones to regulate things like our blood glucose level, the calcium in our blood, salts, our metabolism, our growth, our development, our maturation, our reproduction. I mean, just about every process you can think of is regulated by hormones. Now, whenever we talk about hormones, there's basically two systems that work hand in hand to regulate it. And that's the endocrine system. Now, the endocrine system is basically a ductless gland system, and it's where that produces a lot of the hormones. The chemical will travel, the hormone will travel to the target tissue, and it will cause a response. The nervous system, oftentimes, it transmits what we call an electrical signal, and it releases neurotransmitters or neurohormones, and they are fast, short-lasting responses in the nervous system. And I didn't say the endocrine system. They are slow, but they last a long time. So there's a little bit difference in the way these two act. Now, when we talk about regulation of chemical messages, they are fascinating to me. You got the neurotransmitters. They're released by the neurons. Now, this is a neuron over here. The neuron is the nerve cell, right? This is the neuron here. This is its cell body and the axon. And what happens is, as the impulse travels down the neuron, it's actually electrical. But when it gets to the end, it turns to chemical in what we call a neurotransmitter. And the neurotransmitter will be released across the synapse to the next cell. And there's always a receptor protein, if you'll notice it's shaped properly, that fit hand in hand, that get the message and translate the message back to electrical. Now, hormones in the endocrine system, they're oftentimes going to be carried by your bloodstream, not by a nerve cell. But it's going to act in a very similar way in that there's going to be a receptor protein that's going to catch the hormone and translate its response in the target cell. Now, when we talk about maintaining a homeostasis, we've seen negative feedback loops before, but I just kind of wanted to give you a reminder. Now, let's say if we had this was talking about blood glucose level. If our blood glucose level goes up, then we have a hormone called insulin that's released or produced, which lowers our condition back. And if our blood glucose level goes too down, we have a hormone called glucagon that is released that causes it to go back up. This, is a cause of diabetes. If you go up and you don't produce insulin, that would be an example of diabetes, which we've spoken about before. Okay, guys, now we're going to talk a little bit about the endocrine system. The endocrine system, you can see the picture on the right. You can see the different glands that we have. It goes from the hypothalamus to the thyroid gland, the parathyroid, the thymus, the adrenal gland, the ovaries, the testes. Each one of these are the glands of the endocrine system, and they each produce hormones. Now, I want to talk about the hypothalamus first of all. The hypothalamus is the master nerve control center. It's part of the nervous system, and it receives information from nerves around the body, and it helps maintain that homeostasis. It regulates the release of hormones in the pituitary. So, the pituitary gland is what we often call the master gland, and these are both located in your brain. And the pituitary is part of the endocrine system. So a while ago when I said the nervous and endocrine work hand in hand, this is a perfect example. The endocrine system oftentimes will secrete broad range of tropic hormones. Tropic hormones are hormones that affect other glands. And here's some examples. You got ADH that may be released by the kidneys. You got oxytocin by different muscles of the uterus that's contraction during childbirth. Growth hormone that's maybe produced by the bones or the muscle, which causes you to grow. I don't know what all else. Follicle stimulating hormone, which causes the follicle to develop, and luteinizing hormone, which both of these are going to be involved in reproduction. So all of these, prolactin, which is involved in production of milk in mammals, all of these are tropic hormones. Now, when we think about hormones, hormones are what we call antagonistic. And I've already given you an example of insulin and glucagon, but here's another example that they're constantly working to maintain that homeostasis. For example, we want to have a certain calcium level in our blood, but if it goes up too high, the thyroid gland actually reduces calcitonin, which stimulates calcium to be deposited in your bones or reduces the uptake by the kidneys and brings it back down to normal level. When the calcium level gets too low, the parathyroid will actually release the parathyroid hormone, the PTH hormone, which causes the kidneys to have an increased uptake of calcium and causes calcium to be released from bones. But you can see, even though there's two different glands, these two hormones are working antagonistically in order to maintain that homeostasis. All right, I hope this helps you with the endocrine system, and I will talk to you very, very soon.